Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've all had a lovely Christmas and as nice a New Year as you possibly can. Got another book review recommendation for you today, The Club by Richard Osman, which is a really good read. I really recommend it. It's really funny. I mean, I wouldn't be doing a video on it if I didn't enjoy it and I didn't recommend it. You can take that for granted now that I won't be doing any videos on any books or anything that I personally haven't enjoyed, although I might change my mind on that fact. Who knows? Just to warn you, we've got a little cat here. This is Daisy. She's probably going to be in and out, and so I'm sorry if you see a tail. In the frame, she's after, I don't know what she's after, but she's after something, but she's fine. She's got food, she's got water, you know, she's fine. She's just being demanding, as is her right as a cat. Right, so let's get into the Thursday Murder Club. As always, or as with my previous two, on Lucy Foley's murder mystery books, I've done a little script and I'm trying really hard not to do any spoilers on this. I don't think I do have any spoilers, but again I will put some timestamps in there. I'll also link below to my two other reviews of Lucy Foley's murder mystery book. So I've done The Guest List and The Hunting Party, her two murder mysteries. And this is another murder mystery. It's all I've been reading recently. Don't know why, it's not normally my kind of genre, but I've just got into like a little murder mystery hype recently. So probably a few more reviews to come on this, but I promise I will start reading some books of another genre at some point. So the premise of the Thursday Murder Club is that these four friends live in this, what sounds like an amazing retirement village in Kent, on the coast by the sea. This village is like a converted convent, so it's really nice, really modern, really lovely, fun place to live. Lots of kind of people around the same age, all living there. I guess imagine like uni halls, like a really brand new uni halls, but for retirement age people. So the four friends are Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim and Ron, the Thursday Murder Club. So they meet up every Thursday to go through old case files as a previous member of the Thursday Murder Club who, I suppose this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not really. It is in the book, but it's not directly related to anything that really happens too much. The previous member of the Thursday Murder Club before Joyce was a retired police officer, so she has access to old cold case files, unsolved murders. So the book opens with Elizabeth discussing this unsolved murder with Joyce, who used to be a nurse before she retired. So Joyce was a nurse before she retired. Elizabeth, we don't really know what she was. Something, I want to say she was something to do with MI5, Secret Service, MI6. She alludes to a lot of things, having gone a lot of places, having done a lot of things. But it's never really specifically said what exactly she does. She's a really interesting character. Ibrahim was and is still a counsellor psychologist. He still sees the odd client, and they come to him at his new place of residence in this retirement village. And then we've got Ron, who was a bit of a Del boy, I think, is probably the nicest or the best description of him. He's a bit of a Del boy, bit of a dodgy dealer. His son Jason features in the Ron's son is quite an important character within the story and the narrative as well, so whenever he's mentioned and he comes up, make sure you remember him, keep an eye on him, because he's a really important character, as well as these four members of the Thursday Murder Club. So they meet every Thursday, they go over old cold case files of unsolved murders, and they try and sit down and they work out what could have happened between them, pooling all their knowledge basically from their working lives. And you know, there's a whole pool of people who also live in the community, so they could, you know, they ask other people as well. But then all of a sudden, or I guess not all of a sudden, but then an actual real life murder happens, and the police do get involved, but as much as the police are involved, the Thursday Murder Club are involved as well. And the Thursday Murder Club are just as involved as the police. They know just as much as the police, if not more than the police. Like, they end up working very, very closely with the police on this. Like, I really find the interaction between the two police officers who are mainly featured, the Kent Constabulary who are assigned to this murder, and the Thursday Murder Club, Elizabeth in particular, the way they're intertwined, the way that they react, I just find really funny. The fact that the police are doing all this, they're doing, going down all their other methods, or their usual methods, and then Elizabeth being from the background that she's from with her Secret Service 5, background. She talks about the war a lot, the Second World War, and what she got up to during that. And so she she manages to find out a lot more about what's going on, basically, than the police do. So she kind of does tit for tat with the police, which I think is really interesting. It's really funny. It's a really funny line to go around. And there's lots of I'm trying to do this as best I can without doing too many spoilers. There's lots of twists and turns within it, and there's not just one murder in this book. There's a few other little subplots going on underneath, so Elizabeth and her husband, how they interact with each other, and the previous member of the Thursday Murder Club. And then as it's a converted convent, there's some stuff going on around planning, because everyone wants to build everywhere these days, and there's a graveyard and things come up from the graveyard. That is a little bit of a spoiler, so I will put a timestamp for this below. But what I would say about the Thursday Murder Club is that it really does show you that, once you retire, you're not old and past it, or you're not just sitting in a chair all day watching rubbish daytime TV. And I think this book really shows that. It's really funny. There's so many twists and turns in it. It shows you a lot about, I think, not necessarily the underbelly of society, but how things that maybe happened 20, 30, 40 years ago that were more, I guess, common then, in the way that the world was then, and there was less technology and all that sort of stuff, that it was easier to get away with things, and things happened more than they possibly would now. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, and maybe I think that I just don't live in the criminal, seedy underworld, so there could be more things going on nowadays than I think. But I think that's a really important part of this book as well, the link to the past and the present, and that even though in the present day we think we've got all this technology, we think, you've got CCTV, you've got forensics, you've got this, that and the other, you think it would be a lot easier to catch a criminal, for the police to do their job. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all this technology doesn't necessarily mean that the police are any better at catching criminals than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's just, all in all, it's a really, really funny book. It's really, for a whodunit, it's really funny, it's really light-hearted. It's exactly the kind of book you would expect Richard Osman to write. And I'm not surprised in the slightest that it has topped the bestseller chart, because it's genuinely such a good book. It took me a while to start off with it. It took me a while to get into it. But then once I got into it and once it got going, I absolutely was hooked. I couldn't put it down. I absolutely loved it. I felt really sad to finish it. Yeah, it's one of those books that you just can't put down, and once you're finished, you're a bit like, oh, I didn't want to leave Elizabeth, I didn't want to leave Ron, I didn't want to leave Abraham, I didn't want to leave Joyce. Joyce I really like as a character. I think she's probably one of my favourite characters. Her and Elizabeth are probably my favourite characters in the book. The way that these two women are written, I think, is so clever. Especially as it's a male author as well. I think that the way the female characters are written in this book is they're written really well. They're not stereotypical. anything, and they're actually, you know, they're modern women doing it for themselves. You know, they're out there investigating a murder, multiple murders that have happened recently. And I suppose the common factor in all this is that all the murders are related to the retirement community in some way or another. They're all centred around that, all related to that. So I love the fact that these things have happened in their community and they're not just sat by Joyce and Elizabeth. They're out there with a little bit of help from their psychics, Ron and Abraham. They're out there, they're looking, they're finding out, they know just as much as the police, if not more. And without trying to give away a massive spoiler for the ending, they end up knowing more than the police in the end. Telling book, and I love the way it's written as well. Like, it's really funny, but it's all the characters, they're real characters, they're nuanced, they're not just good, they're not just bad. Yeah, all in all, I think this book is really good, and I think there's more and more books coming out like this, and I think that's just so important because as a society we're very, very focused on youth. It's good to have more books like this. I read a book last year called 3 Things About Elsie, which I think it might be behind me. There we are. 3 Things About Elsie, that is about someone with dementia. You know, it's just so important, I think, that we are prepared and we learn what life is like. It doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be bad. And I personally really like reading books like that. I especially love the Thursday Murder Club. I think it's Hello Daisy. I think it's one of my favourite books I've ever read, and I reread books all the time, so it's definitely one that's going to be one of my ones that I reread. It's very rare that I don't reread a book. So yeah, that's all from me and Daisy for now. She's here being a pain in the bum, but she's so cute. Yeah, I hope you've all had a lovely Christmas and as nice a New Year as you can, and wherever you are, you're staying safe and healthy, and we're in another lockdown here in the UK until God knows when, probably March, the end of March. Where I am, we were already in tier 4, which was basically a lockdown anyway. It's just the schools have shut. Here's 2021 and a lot of good books, starting with the Thursday Murder Club. There is actually a sequel to the Thursday Murder Club, the Thursday Murder Club 2 coming out, which, sorry, I'm just going to let Daisy out. Thursday Murder Club 2 is coming out. I'm not sure if it's coming out this year or maybe it might be next year. But it's coming out. I'll put a note in the description. I'll Google it. But it's coming out and I can't wait to read it. So expect another review of that. And I'll see you all soon.